Every organization is acting like they are nonpartisan by not endorsing, but it's quite the opposite. As the last few weeks of the election come to an end, there are now countless companies and organizations that are refusing to endorse in this race. That's how you know that it's bad. When the LA Times, a leftist organization, won't even endorse in the 2024 presidential race. But we can see right through them. The only reason why they are not endorsing is because Kamala is not popular and everyone knows it. We all know full well that they would get little to no blowback from endorsing a Democrat, but God forbid they endorse a Republican, they would get all of the blowback. That's the problem in this election. Even though we know full well that they are not, there is nothing the mainstream media can do now to regain the trust of the public because they have lied to us time and time again, and they will continue to lie to us day after day after day. With that being said, let's dig in. Digging right in, we actually have the Los Angeles Times, and this is a Daily Wire article. The Los Angeles Times are now refusing to endorse in the 2024 presidential race. Now, we already know that this was happening because of the fact that Kamala Harris has been one of the most unpopular people in modern history, because of the fact that we could see that she ran in 2020 and she got no people actually voting for her. That's why she needed to drop out actually early. The Los Angeles Times snubs Kamala, won't endorse in 2024 White House race. The Los Angeles Times, which is California's largest newspaper, reportedly will not make an endorsement in the 2024 presidential race, a blow to Vice President Kamala Harris, as the outlet has backed a Democrat in every White House since 2008. Sources told 7-4 that an executive editor at Terry Ting informed editorial board staff earlier this month that the Los Angeles Times will not pick a favorite candidate this year. The report noted that the decision came from Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, a wealthy biotech entrepreneur who bought the newspaper in 2018. A Los Angeles Times spokesperson did not deny the report, saying, "We do not comment on internal discussions or discussions about editorials or endorsements." The news came exactly 2 weeks before Election Day, in which Harris is facing former President Donald Trump in the White House race. Although national polls on average show Harris with a slight edge, betting markets and polls indicate Trump is gaining momentum in leading battleground states. Harris has received support in the Los Angeles Times prior to contests, including her 2010 and 2014 runs for California Attorney General and her 2016 United States Senate campaign. The newspaper also endorsed Harris as a running mate to now President Joe Biden in their successful 2020 campaign against Trump. During primary season, Biden locked in on the Democratic 2024 presidential nomination with the support of over 14 million primary voters. However, Biden dropped out with pressure from his allies following a shaky debate performance in late June, and Harris took his place atop the ticket. A couple of labor unions has endorsed Biden for president in 2020 and refused to do the same for Harris this year, instead opting not to vote for any candidate. One of them, the Teamsters, chose to sit out this year's contest, even though internal polling found that Trump got more support from its members than Harris. Social media was ablaze with reactions after the report on Tuesday stating that the LA Times will not be making an endorsement in the 2024 race. Everybody's saying that this is surprising. And yeah, I mean, it full on is not surprising, not to me, because of course, if it's not a leftist that they're going to be supporting, then they're just not going to support anyone at all, because they have their motive, they have their indoctrination that they want to push, and if it does not match what they want to push, then they're just not going to share the information at all with their readers or their viewers. Moving into the next article, we actually have a Federalist article here. We have Biden calls for more political prosecution of Trump. We got to lock him up. While President Joe Biden may not have juice left in the cognitive battery, he's got enough spark remaining to deliver the real marching orders of the Democratic Party and the deep state. Lock up Donald Trump. Speaking Tuesday at a New Hampshire Democrat campaign office just 2 weeks before Election Day, Biden mumbled through a number of scenarios that the left has been puddling about what they would say can be expected should voters send former President Trump back to the White House. Biden warned his fellow Democrats about Trump's pledge to ultimately eliminate the DEI pushing Federal Department of Education. He then seemed to ramble about Trump's plan to deal with the deep state and send rogue bureaucrats packing before launching into a nearly incoherent tirade in which he suggested the Supreme Court's ruling this summer on broad presidential immunity for official acts would enable Trump to murder people. He means it. This is not a joke. The president told fellow Democrats at the Concord office, this is a guy who also wants to replace every civil servant, every single one, thinks he has a right under the Supreme Court ruling on immunity to be able to do that. If he was the case, it would physically eliminate, shoot, and kill someone who believes to be a threat to him. This is just a straight up lie. Obviously, presidents don't have the immunity to just straight up kill people, because if they did, then do you really think Joe Biden would not just straight up kill Trump, knowing that he is, quote unquote, the reincarnation of Hitler? I mean, if you were to look at Hitler and see the reincarnation of him, wouldn't the ultimate thought process be that you would want to kill the reincarnation of Hitler before the reincarnation of Hitler can kill other people? That would be the thought process that the left would hold. But of course, they don't want you to actually follow that logical order to actually get yourself to the place that, yeah, I mean, this is a possibility that they would hold if it were true. But obviously, it is not true that presidents hold this immunity, this quote unquote immunity that they just came up with out of thin air. I mean, it's not a case that the presidents have. They do not have the immunity to just straight up kill people at all. I mean, there's no factual grounding for this whatsoever in any Supreme Court ruling at all since the beginning of America, at all. So I just don't understand where people are even getting this from. If you really think that presidents have immunity, like I said, the president would do something about it right today. Tomorrow, and yesterday, the president would have did something, which is Joe Biden, but he didn't, so they don't have immunity. Trump was president from 2016 to 2020. What did he do? He didn't kill anybody. He was not a dictator. He was not a communist. Life was better under Trump. The economy was better under Trump. Everybody that wanted a job could get a job, but now, nope, you can't. Remember this come 2 weeks from now. So, moving on to another Federalist article, we have here all of the radical plans Democrats will ram through Congress if they nuke the filibuster. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign is promising that if Harris is elected president and the numbers in the House and the Senate are favorable, they will eliminate the Senate filibuster for a single purpose: to ensure Roe v. Wade as the law of the land. They ignore polling that suggests that there are other issues on the top of Americans' daily concerns. Harris administration would try again to eliminate the filibuster just one more time to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat, and Senator Christian Sinema, independent from Arizona, blocked the effort in 2021, but will not be in office in 2025. And then, depending on their whim, they might also make Puerto Rico a state. And then the District of Columbia, they would vote for a sure call it quits and go back to the 60-vote rule. Well, maybe they will first take a look at passing single-payer health care and, of course, use 51 votes to pass the unconstitutional, non-controversial wealth tax, stack the Supreme Court under the guise of the judicial reform, gut the Second Amendment, pass broad immunity, or grant citizenship for more than 15 million people who will illegally be welcomed to the country. But that's probably it. Absolute monarchy after that. No serious person understands that the Senate filibuster, or the term gridlock, could think for 1 second that a Democrat president, House, or Senate would exercise sufficient restraint to pull up short of funding their most radical pet projects and passing legislation they know could never garner 60 votes. I completely agree with that. The filibuster is made there so they can actually discuss laws. We're making laws countless times after countless times that we don't have to discuss the laws at all. We can just pass a law, take a vote on it the same exact day. That's not how it's supposed to be in the Senate. You're supposed to talk about the bill. You're supposed to convince your colleagues to vote or convince your colleagues to vote against the bill. So again, getting rid of things that actually make us discuss the laws and discuss the bills that we're going to be passing should not be a thing in America, because the people have to know exactly what's going on. On C-SPAN, you can look at it. You can look at all of the senators and the congressmen that are reading laws out loud for people. And this should be something that we do daily. This is the bills that we want to pass today. Read the whole entire bill. If it's 1,000 or 3,000 pages, somebody will read that bill out loud so everybody can read the bill. That's exactly what should happen. You should at least be mandated to read the bill in full before voting on it. So why is it that we get a 1,300 page bill and then we have to vote on it the same exact day? That's impossible to read. That doesn't even make any sense. This is exactly what happens time and time again in Congress. So no, the filibuster should not be overridden. The filibuster needs to be stayed in place because of the fact that it's actually helping us have some coherent sense in our world. I mean, the Democrats want to completely get rid of that. They want to add states that will make sure that every single election will end up on a Democrat's side. So again, if you look back at the constitutional order, as soon as you added a Republican state, you had to add a Democrat state so it would even out. And then obviously that's why it depends on the swing states, that sometimes it's Democrat, sometimes it's Republican. So it's very, very important, those swing states. But if you add a Democrat state and then add a Democrat state again and then add a Democrat state again, the Republicans have no chance. You can't change the Democrat state to a Republican state. That's very, very tricky, and it does not happen very often at all. So with that being said, we're going to do it for this episode of the Demetrius Sergio Show. If you did like this episode and you do want to see more, I do upload new episodes of the show every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and I hope they have a great rest of your day. Bye.